Hello friend, I want to tell you about the Mazda MX-5 car. The Mazda MX-5 is one of those models that has become iconic not only because of its features, but also because it sells brilliantly. A real hit among convertibles has always been offered at an attractive price, and this is still the case on the secondary market after many years. Today we present the second generation of the MX-5, which is still a relatively young car, but already available for reasonable money. The Mazda MX-5 is an excellent combination of a convertible or roadster with a sports car and is undoubtedly one of those models that are worth driving at least once in your life. On the one hand, a small car that will let you feel the wind in your hair, as is often said, but also a car that gives an excellent driving experience and connects the driver with the car in an almost incredible way. It has practically no competitors anymore, and used copies are exceptionally attractively priced compared to Lotus Elises or Toyota Mr. 2s, with which it could be compared. Its additional advantage is good durability and low operating costs. The second-generation Mazda MX-5, designated as the NB, debuted in the late 1990s, and its characteristic feature compared to its predecessor was the regular headlights, which replaced the pop-up lamps that were no longer fashionable at the time. Some liked it, others didn't, but the NB didn't change its character. It was still a light, attractive car with a longitudinally placed engine, transferring drive to the rear axle. The connection between the car and the driver and the road is ensured by the multi-link suspension at the front and rear, which gives the car an excellent feel. Its small size and ideal weight distribution have a positive effect on the handling, but also on the unity of the car with the driver, provided that he is no taller than 1.8 meters, because taller people simply do not fit. Driving with your head sticking out above the window frame is not comfortable, and with the roof closed, such a person has to sit hunched up. It is worth adding that the standard equipment is a manually foldable soft top, vinyl or fabric, but you can also find hard hardtops on the market. The characteristic feature of the model is small engines placed in front of the driver, but partly behind the front axle, which has a beneficial effect on the weight distribution. It is worth adding that Mazda MX-5s are not luxury products, so you can't always count on rich equipment. Even air conditioning or ABS were not standard in every copy. Engines. The small engines placed in the front always had 4 cylinders and not very high power. The weakest version generates 110 horsepower from a capacity of 1.6 liters. The 1.8 engine reaches 144 horsepower until 2001 or 146 horsepower after 2001. Both engines were connected to a manual gearbox with 5 or 6 speeds. The 1.8 version with a 6-speed gearbox additionally has a limited slip differential in the rear axle. It is rarer to come across an automatic that does not fit the character of the car. In addition, you can't count on a limited slip, because such versions should be treated as ordinary convertibles, not sports cars. A great rarity on the market are the turbo versions with a 1.8 unit with 178 HP. Which engine to choose for the Mazda MX-5? Generally, it doesn't matter much, because the basic unit provides good performance. Acceleration to 100 km per hour in less than 10 seconds. Of course, in a sports car, the more power the better, but the 1.8 offers acceleration to 100 km per hour in less than 8 seconds. It's also slightly better to drive because of the limited slip. What's broken? This is a favorite topic of Mazda MX-5 NB owners, because it is a model that can be considered one of the most reliable in the world, and certainly the best in its class in this respect. 2 recurring problems in this car are corrosion and ignition coil failures. Both things are as certain as death. Coils are unfortunately very expensive, although users manage with replacements from other models. You should expect corrosion of every element of the upholstery and floor. Before buying, you should definitely and very carefully inspect the car if you do not want to start the second year of use with a visit to the body shop. The first year will be so fascinating that you won't notice how quickly rust eats up your new pet. Watch out for the floor, which is more responsible for the overall rigidity of the body than in other cars. Corrosion is also a result of neglect. You need to regularly clean any drains where dirt accumulates. Other problems encountered in Mazda MX-5s result from three things: the age of the car, care or lack thereof, and mistakes made by users or mechanics. A perfect example of this third situation is the wear of the differential mechanism, which has a separate housing and therefore separate oil. It should not only be replaced, but also checked if there is still any. A small amount of it results in the fact that small leaks can cause large deficiencies in lubrication. We caution against excessive chassis tuning for two reasons. First, the car is already low and it is easy to damage chassis components, so lowering it further will only make the problem worse. If the Mazda MX-5 is to be used in winter, then even more so. The second issue is hard springs and shock absorbers. Remember that this is a light car and should have the right amount of suspension so that it does not bounce on bumps and thus maintains traction. That is why it is worth using high-class products. In addition, a worn-out Mazda MX-5 with a hardened hinge will bend and even crack, and corrosion will also accelerate. Along with stiffening the suspension, changes should be made to stiffen the body and the mounting points of the running gear. A huge advantage of the Mazda MX-5 is its overall reliability, but also its great popularity, which means that service and access to spare parts can be considered good. The simple design does not cause any problems for mechanics. A large number of replacements and accessories makes repairs easier, but you have to reckon with the very high prices of original parts. Some procedures require them, such as engine sealing or timing drive replacement. Fortunately, you can count on discounts at ASO. Suspension elements are expensive, but, for example, the lower control arm can be fully regenerated. Fuel consumption of 8 to 9 L, 100 kilometers regardless of engine version is the norm. The tire size is not large or unusual, so you can buy good quality 195/50ths R15 tires at a low price. The Mazda MX-5 is not only a one-of-a-kind car, but despite its huge popularity, it can be a good investment. The first-generation NA is already fetching prices similar to well-maintained NB models. If you buy a well-maintained Mazda MX-5 NB and keep it in similar condition, you can resell it in a few years without losing value. In the meantime, you will enjoy fun that is unattainable for similar money. Is this a sufficient argument for buying an MX-5? In our opinion, yes. Thanks for listening to me. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and rate my video. If you know of any problems with this car that I haven't mentioned, be sure to write about them in the comments.
I have good news for you. Now, if you are planning to buy a used car, or learn more about your car, you no longer need to search for the information you need on the internet. We have collected everything in one place for you, on the website carme.pro. Here you can find out everything about the car, what breaks and at what mileage, any problems with engines, chassis or gearboxes, which trim levels are better not to mess with, and how not to lose money buying a used car. You will learn all this on carme.pro.